Welcome to the show Exploring Automation. I'm Ajay Balamurdas and I have with me Lavanya.
Hello.
So we are back after a break, a small break, and today we will explore more about Git. So yes, Lavanya, what do you have for Git?
Okay, maybe let's start with a story. Right? Let's assume that you and I are working on one particular project together and we want to start writing automation tests. Maybe let's just imagine that book application which we always take. And let's say that we want to start writing some end-to-end UI automation tests for that application. Uh, So maybe let's say that since you already know a lot of automation, maybe you are the one who starts writing it. So maybe you just build a small framework and write a little bit of code, to have everything up, some initial setup maybe. And now you want to share it with me so that I can also add certain more things. Right?
Okay.
So what are the options that we have? Like how do we share it with each other?
If it was college, zip, email, drive.
Right, right, and that's exactly what I did in college as well. For our, final year project as well. So we would zip the files, we would email it to each other, or we would, well, of course, otherwise, share it in a pen drive and so on. Now there are a couple of challenges with this. One is, well, if it's just two people, it might still be okay, but there's still like if it's a bigger group, merging all these changes of all these different people is going to be tricky. Now you need to not just take change the latest changes from everyone and merge it, but also share the new latest with everybody else, right? So that's a tricky thing, and you probably would, in the end, like if it was through email mechanism, then you would probably need one entire dedicated person who just does this. Maybe you need more. We don't know, right? So
Someone with a lot of patience.
yes, someone with a lot of patience. That's true. Yes. So that's one problem. The other challenge, if you think about, is maybe versioning. So let's say that we want to ensure that like we are sort of keeping track of all our changes. So maybe we do something like name files differently. So maybe we add timestamps to the file name itself. But let's say we want to get back certain like an older version of the file. There is a high chance that we might make a mistake and edit the older version instead of editing the newer version, or make a mistake in in copying or anything like that. So there are these different challenges that come when we want to share code or share a project. So to avoid these things, we could have a version control system, and Git is a distributed version control system. So basically, what it does, it helps us track all history, all the code changes, everything, and it helps us have that history. Like each and every one on the team could have that entire history with them, and they can work on the project and basically be able to share the changes with each other easily. So that's really the concept of Git. So maybe we could actually take a project and see a couple of more, like a little bit of details about Git. So let's say that uh, Ajay created this project, book in book information test, and then I cloned it on my machine. Now we won't talk about how to actually set up, install Git or how to clone, but let's just assume that now I also have the code base that uh, Ajay had initially written and pushed somewhere. Okay, and now maybe we can like look at certain like stages in Git. So Git, we say that basically it has three important stages. Okay, one is called the working directory. The second stage is called, well, the staged area, and the third one is called local repository. So, and let's see this in action right now. So the first one we spoke about was working directory. Well, working directory basically just means our code, which the area in which we can actually work on our code. So for example, if this is the repository, if we look at it, it has some files, and we can edit these files. So that becomes our working directory. Okay, so let's actually make an edit to the file. So I have this project opened on IntelliJ. We could use any ID, doesn't matter. And yeah, let's say that there are a couple of files here. It doesn't matter what this says, but let's just say that we want to make a change. So in this case, let's say instead of verify book search results, I want to rename this and say that search results should be greater than 1. For example, yeah, just renaming this particular test method. So this area, this place where I made the changes is actually our working directory. And to see whether this change actually, like something changed, we could see this via git, one of the git commands called git status. So here git status tells us that one file has been modified. Right? Now this was the file where we made the changes.
So do you want to walk through each line after git status?
Okay. We will actually talk about branches a little later. So let's ignore the first two lines for now. And yeah, let's focus on this particular section. So one important thing that it says is that this is a file which has been modified. So right now the change that we made was in this file, and that's why it is saying that it has been modified. Okay. And there are two other commands. We'll come to this in a bit. But before we go there, I just want to show you one more thing. So git is telling, like git status tells us that this file has been modified. But let's say we want to see what exactly has changed. Right now we just did a small change, so we probably already know. But when we have a lot of changes, we would want to see what are those changes, right? So one way of doing that is by git diff command. So git diff shows us what exactly changed. So here in red, we can see that it was earlier called verify book search results, and now it's called something else that we just made. So the one in green is what, like it basically shows with plus and minus. So we've added this, we've basically removed this one, right? So this is telling us the difference. Now, we said that we have three areas, right? This was the working directory. Now let's say that we want to move our file, this change, we're happy with this change. So next step for this, we would move it to the staging area. Okay, and this is what, like git status actually very nicely tells us what command we should run so that we don't even have to memorize. And it tells us that, hey, if you want this to move to staging area, you will have to say git add the file name. Okay. One more thing here, like for example, right now it says that changes are not staged for commit. So it's not in the staging area, which means it is currently in the working directory. Okay. And let's say we want to move this to the staging area, then we will say git add the file name. Okay. And now if I do git status, you can see that earlier it was saying not staged, but right now it says changes to be committed. Okay, which means now this change right now is now in the staging area. And the next step for this would be to go to the commit stage. Yes, Ajay.
So it would be changes not staged for commit, and then changes to be committed, and then I hope there are more in that list, right?
Yes, and the final thing will be actually changed committed in the local repository.
And
so three
anything
stages.
Before changes not staged for commit?
Okay, let me just basically it will just say it is clean directory, there is nothing, no changes here. We can come to that in a bit.
There's nothing more.
Okay, so now this is currently in the second stage, right? It is currently this file is currently staged. Now actually let's say that we want to still see the difference, the diff in the staged area. Here if we do git diff right now, If we run the same command, we don't see anything. Why? Because git diff actually shows us the difference only in the working directory. It does not show us the diff of the staged files staging in the staging area. So if we want to see the changes actually done currently in the staging area, we would have to say git diff -- staged. Sorry. So now we can see the same changes here, but we also know that it is in the staging area now. So this is basically just showing us changes in the staging area. Okay. And if we're happy with this, we can actually go ahead and make a commit by another command. But before I do that, there's one more thing I want to talk about is why do we have this staging area in the first place, right? Like from making changes from the working directory, maybe we could just directly do a commit. Why do we have this middle area? Yeah. So let's try to understand that. So let's say that right now this is a file which has been staged, and there are a couple of more edits I want to do. So maybe here I just add a comment, something. Yeah, for now, just like that. And this is maybe, let's say, this is a comment for me to remember something right now, but I don't want this to be committed. Yeah, so while I'm actually making multiple changes, I just added a couple of things, and now just for myself, but I don't want those things to be committed, or at least not in this particular commit. Yeah. So now if I actually do git status, it shows, well, one part of the file has been staged, another part has been, well, has been modified, but is still in the working directory. Yeah. And since we have this middle stage, we can actually say that we want to commit only the things in this stage, right? We don't want to commit anything that's currently in the working directory. So this helps us in, let's say, like while making changes. Now this was a very superficial example, like a comment. It's not really a great example, but normally you would probably touch a lot of different files. You would make changes to multiple different files, and then you want to make, let's say, multiple commits, like logical commits, and you realize that there are some certain files which you don't want as part of your first commit. So in that case, you let it remain modified because you need those changes later, but you only stage those things which you want to actually commit. And having this area actually helps us do that. So now let's say, yeah, so if we actually look at git diff, it will show just that superficial comment that I added. And if we see git diff -- staged, then we see the actual change that we really want. Okay. So now if we do a commit, let's see that it actually adds only this particular change and not this change. Okay, we can see that. So to commit something, our command is git commit. We usually have to add a message. So we could just type something out like this. But I usually prefer just saying git commit, and then it opens up the default editor, and then I write a commit message here. Okay, so this will rename the test method, for example. Okay, so now let's look at git status. We have made a commit, but now let's see git status. So if you see, it says that this branch is ahead by one commit. Okay, and there is still a modified area, a file in our modified area. What is this change?
So it is ahead by one commit, as in
yes, I'll just
commit.
Right. So okay, let's talk about this. So right now, let's say I cloned this repository from somewhere, right? And it came into my local, and I made a commit. Now, important thing to remember is when we do a commit, it's actually, even though we are saying it's committed, it's really stored only in the local, in my local till now. It's not available for others to just use right now, right? So in the remote repository, this is like as compared to my remote repository, my local is now ahead by one commit because I made a commit, but I have not pushed it to that remote repository. So that's why it says that, hey, your origin master, main, whatever branch we say, is now ahead by one commit. If I made another commit, it would say ahead by two commits.
Got
Right? And it will stop showing this ahead by some commits after I push these changes to remote. Because then it will say, if I push these changes to remote.
Okay.
So when I push it to remote, it will basically remote and my local again will be in sync, and it will say nothing to commit.
So remote is what is called as main.
No, remote would be the repository from which we all basically clone. So I mean, it could be, let's say, if we're using GitHub, it could be some repository there, a barebone repository in GitHub. Why I'm saying bare repository is because you wouldn't really, that is basically a repository where there is no working directory. Right? You wouldn't ideally just go there and make a change directly there, like in most cases. So that repository we would call remote, and all of us push to that remote, for example, and that's like and that's the place from where we actually also pull to keep everything in sync. So so yeah, like that's, let's say that remote is, for now, let's just say it is a repository on GitHub. So basically, this says that I have made a new commit, which is currently still not present in GitHub yet. So if we want to push our changes, basically we just run this git push command. So it says use git push to publish your local commits to the remote. Yeah, and in this case, the second part is also changes are not staged, right? Which means this is the working directory. And what is the thing that we modified? Well, we can see again, but it's that same comment that I had added. Right? Now, if we want to see that the commit which was done actually does not have this change, let's say we want to confirm that also, right? So let's say we want to see what was actually committed right now. We made one commit. Let's see what all actually went into that commit. One of the ways to see that is we can say git log. Right? And when we do git log, it basically just gives us what was committed. So for example, this was the most recent commit. So it is like the most recent is shown on the top. These are some other older commits that we can see. Right? And if we want to see the details of what was there in this commit, then we can take this commit ID and we can say git show the commit ID, and we will be able to see the details, like the actual changes. So here we can see what was removed, what was added. Okay. So yeah, these are some of the basic like starter commands. Now, actually, I also want to talk about, like, since we did a local commit, I'll just talk about what happens when we do a commit itself. Yeah.
So this commit is the same as you pushing to the remote. Yes.
No, this commit is currently still only on local.
Still on local.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point, right? We can see. So when we do git log, we can see that okay, there is a special pointer called head, right, which points to the latest commit on. Uh, for now, let's just assume that it is latest commit. For now, we can just, like, when we maybe talk about branches, we can talk a little more about it. But currently, this is where the head pointer is. So basically, for like in my local, this is where my head is pointing. This head pointer is actually at. And if you see origin is our remote. That is actually pointing to a commit behind. So in that sense, what it basically means is we made a commit, and that is currently only in my local repository. So Git repository, there is like an entire repository here as well, right? Like locally. That repository has this new commit, but the remote, like the origin, doesn't have this commit yet. So that's a very important point to remember, that when we did this git commit command and actually committed it, we need to remember that it does not push to master, like it doesn't update master, as in it doesn't update remote directly. It only updates in our local. So if I want you to get these changes, Ajay, then I have to push it so that you can pull it later and then get these changes. Okay. So now let's also look at what happens when we actually make a commit. All right, and let me pull this up. I actually made some diagrams right now. So whoa, it's so small.
You can close the theme.
Oh, I can close the theme. Is it possible to close this as well?
Yeah, view. Can try view. If there is anything on the view menu.
Not sure.
No, that's fine. I think you can present the screen. Let it come for full screen for a
Okay.
few minutes.
Okay. Yeah, so what happens in a commit? There are actually three things that happen that get stored. Okay, the first one is the file content itself. So we edited some test file. That new file content will be will be present blobs as blobs. Then we have another thing that gets created is the tree object. So basically, tree object says that hey, this is the hierarchy. This file, uh, like this is the parent directory, and that has these files, and that has another directory which has another few files. So basically, a tree object also gets formed, and finally, a commit object gets formed. And commit object basically just has some metadata like who's the author of the commit, and it has this checksum, basically a commit ID which gets formed, and a couple of more details. So actually we can see this in the commit that we just made, right? So if I do git log, I can see the commit ID, right? This is our like the commit object. So it has commit id, it has the name of the author, the date, and the commit message, for example, right? Now let's take this commit id, copy it, and we can run a command git cat file minus p. I don't really remember what this p option means. I can check, but yeah, if we put the checksum here, then we can actually see the details that we just spoke about, right? Like this is the tree object. There is a concept of parent. I'll come to that, but this is a tree object. Then the committer and like the author and the details. And same way, we can use the same command to see our like the tree object as well. So so if we use this checksum and did get cat file, then it tells us that hey, basically tree object points to files and other directories, right? So it says, hey, this is one file in the root directory, git ignore. There's a pom.xml file again in the root directory, and there is a source directory. Why am I saying this is a directory? But because if you see, this one says it's another tree, right? In these two cases, it's just saying it's a blob, so it's a file which has all the content, right? And this one again is a tree. So basically, a tree can point to another tree and like just have the entire hierarchy here. And eventually, if we go to source test whatever, we would be able to find that our file also, which in which we actually made the changes, and it would have the latest changes here. Okay, so this is basically what happens in when we make a commit. Now let's say that I want to push these changes, right? Right now, I know that, sorry?
Push the changes to remote.
Correct, push the changes to remote. So right now it's still only on my local. Let's say I want to push it. So yeah, I could just say git push, and I can actually say where I want it to be pushed. So origin master, this is where I want it to be pushed, and if I do this, it will go. Maybe we could see it. So I actually cloned it from this particular repository here, and we can see that it probably doesn't have the latest commit on this. For now would be, yeah, I don't know, something around capabilities from config, which was pretty long back. Yeah, so now let's say I push this change.
You can also revert.
Yes, we can also revert. It is asking me for credentials because I cloned it via HTTPS and not SSH. And I need to figure out my credentials for that. But yeah, okay, maybe we could just assume for now that it goes. I'll clone it via SSH and then it will happen. It will be better, easier. But yeah, so let's assume that when I actually do a push, it will go there and we will be able to see another commit. And since you asked about reverting, let's see different types of reverting. One is like, let's say we have these changes in our which we have like basically a file which we have modified, which is currently in our working directory, but we don't want to stage it, we don't want to commit it, we just don't want this change at all. So just like Git told us, hey, if you want to stage, you add. Git also tells us, hey, if you don't want to stay, if you don't want it, like if you want to discard, just say git restore the file. So if we do that, and now if I do git status, there is no changes in the working directory. Yeah. Similarly, we could also, well, remove things that we have committed in local. If we have actually already pushed it and we want to not have that change, then it's slightly different. Then we can't just delete it. We would say something like revert the commit, revert and go back to the older state. We would say that, but it when we do a revert, it will form another new commit, which would basically be the older version. Yeah, but here, if it is not pushed to remote, if it's still only on local, we can still just remove and like delete it. One approach is saying git reset head tilde 1. So let me just talk about what this is. Head, as I mentioned, it's a pointer which is pointing to certain commit. Right? In our case, head was pointing to this latest commit which we just did, which was renaming the test. Right? So if I say git reset head tilde 1, it basically means like just move your head from this point to this, and now just keep pointing to here. Like just go one step behind. If I say tilde 2, it will go 2 steps behind. So I could just do that. And if you see now, let's say git status. Now it says, yeah, there is basically it says your branch is up to date, which means that commit is gone. Earlier it was saying your branch is ahead by one commit. Right? So now you can see that it's gone, that commit is gone. But the changes are still present. The changes are now in our working directory. So if we say git diff, we will still be able to see the changes, but now it's in the working directory. So the commit is gone. If we want to still discard it, then we could just still say git restore, like how we did earlier. And that's yeah, that will just take it back to.
So git restore is like cleaning up the working directory and going back to default or whatever the committed state was.
Cleaning up working directory.
If you want to, if we say for example on the remote we added line 1. To remove that we say head, git reset head, correct?
It was not to remote. It was a commit, but local commit.
Okay. So from remote we have still not reverted,
right,
or we have not talked about that yet.
Yes. So this was all just local, like, and honestly, like till I do not really push to remote, it doesn't matter how many times I revert, how many times I like delete something or make changes. It's still okay because everything is still on my like local. Right? After pushing, let's say that I make some change and I then force push. It could also affect others, so we should not really do force push. And that's why like revert, as in making changes to a commit from which is already pushed, is slightly different because you don't want to affect other people's changes as well, like which could have been based on your changes. So okay, so let me restore, as in remove this change as well. And let's say that we are now like there's nothing to commit. It's exactly like how our remote is, right? Our current directory is current working directory, whatever. Our local Git repository is exactly similar to remote right now. There's no changes. And now let's say that this previous commit which was there on remote, I want to remove. I don't like that commit for some reason. It was a bad commit, so we need to remove. So how would we do that? Is we would take the commit ID. So git log gives us that commit ID, and we can say git revert this. So if we say git revert that, basically all the changes that were made for this particular commit will now be undone. So yeah, it will ask us for like commit message. I'm just going to leave it as the default one for now. And if you see git status, it still says it is ahead by one commit. Okay, so what it meant is, even though we like yeah, this was the one which we did not want, so we reverted, right? When we did git revert, it created a new commit, but
Which has to be pushed.
yeah, it created a new commit which was basically similar to this commit. Like the maybe this like in the sense the snapshot sort of thing, like it would be this stated because all the changes without this. So it would look very similar to this commit, but it is actually a new commit. So if you see, it is a new commit ID. And this basically helps us track also, right? Like what happened and why. Maybe we could have reasons like why we had to revert this. We could add that in the commit message. So this helps. And then now, if I push this change to remote, then we will
Go on.
yeah, then we will again see a new commit on remote, uh, which would basically be called this, but the code would be exactly similar to the state. So this is probably how we would like revert a commit which we have already pushed to remote.
So while pivoting
Mm.
to a specific commit ID,
Mm.
can we change? Can we add new changes?
You would so let's say like reverting is actually like removing the changes in the commit ID that you've mentioned. It's not going back a few commits. It's just saying, hey, this is the commit ID which I don't want.
Oh,
Right? So we can still, like, if you want more changes also, we can do one revert, which would be one commit, and then we could still make more changes and add and then commit. So that would be a second commit. That's usually how we would do it.
oh,
Right? Yeah, and I mean, again, if I try to push, it will just ask me for username and password. And yeah, actually, since we're talking about that, right? Like, there are multiple protocols like which can be used to push to remote, or like this basic remote repositories. Like GitHub, for example, gives us two. It gives us HTTPS, and okay, for some reason I'm not even signed in. That's why maybe it doesn't show. But yeah, like it can also give SSH, and like SSH basically means that you're adding your like your keys, your SSH key in Git settings itself, and you could use that. Like there's a private and public key combination, and basically it just uses that to actually push. So you don't need to enter your password every single time. For HTTPS, I think you have to. Yeah, I think you would have to enter password every single time. There are some other protocols as well, but most common are HTTPS and SSH.
right. So right from starting with what is Git,
Mm.
we can cover with the errors without Git,
Mm.
the three key stages: working directory, stage, area, development support. The need for staging area.
Mm.
Then we saw remote, local. Then on the way we walk through different commands: git status, git diff, git diff in the working directory, git diff in the staging environment, git commit, how you commit. Do you give a message or you just commit and then add the message?
Mm.
Then git push, pushing to remote, git log to check what was committed, details of the commit, Then you also explained about when you commit the different components, maybe like file content or a tree object or a commit object, and how do we revert changes. Also, while pushing, we realized SSH, HTTPS. We also talked about the head concept and how do you restore, reset, how do you restore a file, how do you revert a specific commit ID. We also touched upon git cat file, that is with a specific commit ID or a tree object, uh, to see the details of the commit.
Yeah, it's mainly just to like I just wanted to show what happens when we actually do a commit. Like the tree object is created and the commit object is created, and the blobs are there, like the files. So just that. Usually we don't need to, like, on a day-to-day basis. We don't really use git cat file. Like almost don't use it at all. It's just to understand the concept that we could actually see it, see the structure there.
And if someone wants to try out Git on their own and learn, maybe they can then go to this website, that is learngitbranching.js.org.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they could try out. It's an interactive tutorial. We recommend that. Good. And any questions? Feel free to ask us.
There's also a book called, I think it's called ProGit, or is it Git Pro? I don't remember. Yeah, this one. It's just available for like in multiple different languages, and it's a downloadable ebook. So it has like all concepts explained very well in a lot of detail. So if yeah, if you have the time and like to read, then that might be a great book.
So it's the Pro Git.
Yes.
Become a pro in Git. Very nice. Yes, thank you, Lavanya.
Thank you.
Awesome demo, working demo, I would say. And yes, let's meet in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Anyone has any questions, feel free to comment. We'll try to get that answered.
Thank you.